Hey guys, welcome to the Bin Zone. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Train to Busan. We're going to be getting a better understanding of the movie, the characters, the plot, and the virus itself, so we can actually wrap our heads around this movie and the cause of everything. Because if you've seen Train to Busan, you'll know that this is one of the best horror movies that has come out in recent years, and there are a lot of questions and things that need to be answered. So let's dive into the movie. Just what is Train to Busan? Is it your typical zombie movie? Or is it something else entirely? Well, we're about to find out now. Train to Busan is a Korean horror movie that deals with the same typical critiques of consumerism and capitalism when it comes to zombies and how we are slaves and become zombies to consumerism and capitalism. However, what makes Train to Busan different from other zombie movies is the setting as well as the likable characters who actually develop and get character growth throughout this movie. When I mean setting, I'm talking about the train itself. Being chased by zombies is one thing, but being stuck in a confined space, going 70, 80 miles an hour with no destination for hundreds of miles while zombies are in the same train card as you can be frightening. But enough talk, let's jump into the very beginning of Train to Busan. And at the start of Train to Busan, we are introduced to a deer that gets run over. And the deer getting run over is nothing. It's the fact that the deer gets back up, and that shows us the first signs that the virus doesn't just affect humans. From this scene, we learn that the leak is from a nearby plant, and then we are introduced to the character of SIOC Woo. Now, SIOC Woo is the protagonist of this movie, and he's also the character who maybe has the most character growth as well as might be responsible for the overall outbreak of this. And what we learn about SIOC Woo's characters in this opening scene is that SIOC is a very busy man. He's a very busy workaholic as well as a slime ball. What I mean by that is SIOC's daughter's birthday is coming up, and he buys her the exact same gift he bought her last year, which is a black Nintendo Wii. Now, if that wasn't the case and that wasn't slimeball enough, what he does next is the most egregious act in the movie. And the most egregious thing he does is when the investors start finding out that the plant is leaking, what he does is he reassures them that there's nothing wrong and these are baseless rumors, and tells them not to pull their funding, not to sell their stocks, because they have everything under control. However, what is most damning about this is the fact that it's not only the fact that he has his own investment company and investors stay keeping their stocks. It's the fact that he himself realizes the repercussions of what happened at this plant, and he decides that he's going to sell his stock and essentially clean his hands of what's happening in his company. Therefore, selling all related funds to that stock, he protects himself while keeping the investors still funding it and lining his own pockets. So this establishes who SIOC Woo is. A businessman who's too busy to spend time with his daughter, who's scamming investors out of legitimate claims against his company while selling his own stock and lining his own pockets. Now that his character has been established and the origins of the virus themselves has been established, SIOC Woo decides to take his daughter to Busan to visit her mother on her birthday, and that's when we're really introduced to the zombies. So we're gonna go ahead and look at the virus and look at what we know so far. What we know is the virus is a biomedical virus that was developed by a corporation. We know this because SIOC Woo buys and sells stock for the company. We also know that the plant where they were developing the virus had a leak which infested the nearby animals and plants, which exacerbates and spreads the virus even more, because the virus isn't only human transmitted, it's also transmitted via animals, which can exponentially spread the virus faster than it ever would have if it was just a human or virus that did not affect animals. Now, when it comes to the zombies, we learn a few things about the zombies themselves. First, they react to sound and sight with no sense of smell, so it's easy to maneuver around them during the dark if you keep quiet. However, they seem to be attracted to light no matter where it is, so if there's any sort of light or sound, they will attack ravenously and in packs. Another thing we learn is the virus itself doesn't take that long to spread. It takes about seconds after you're dead to kick into effect. However, if you're alive, it might take several minutes for the virus to kill you and then resuscitate you, because we've seen in the beginning of the movie, like the first character that we saw infected with the virus, it took her quite a while before she turned, and that's because she was alive. As well as the end of the movie when SIOC himself was turning into a zombie, it took him quite some time because he wasn't quite dead yet. Now, the movie itself, like I said earlier in the beginning of the video, is a cautionary tale about consumerism and capitalism, especially in Korea, South Korea, and how they do things over there, and how they're overworked, long hours, and how the business culture prioritizing working yourself and distancing yourself from your family to get more productivity and doing anything by any means necessary. So in the movie, when SIOC is behaving the way that he's behaving, that's because that's just how his character is. That's not just him personally, because we see another character with those same traits as him, and that character is Yong. Yong and SIOC are two sides of the same coin. They're both high-ranking businessmen, and they both at the beginning of the movie have very similar attitudes when it comes to surviving this apocalypse and how they treat other people. However, as the movie goes on, we see that SIOC himself starts to change and starts to evolve as a character in one direction, and Yong himself, arguably the most despicable character in the movie, starts to go off in another direction himself. Because at the beginning of the movie, they start off, like I said, as two sides to one coin, but as the movie develops, SIOC goes one way and Yong goes one other way. As the world around SIOC starts to die and become less human, that's when he himself becomes more compassionate and more human. And while Yong himself wasn't a zombie to the very end, his character starts to descend into animalistic survival monster territory, while SIOC himself becomes different. And by the end of the movie, when SIOC is actually dying, you see him reminiscing about his daughter. He makes the ultimate sacrifice and kills himself to make sure that the pregnant woman and his daughter survive, which is something completely different and something that Yong would not have done given the same scenario. So when it comes to Train to Busan, it's a cautionary tale of overworking and corporate life as opposed to being nice and gentle to each other. Because as the movie goes on and SIOC himself begins to be nicer and care for not only the elderly but a pregnant woman and a couple of kids, you see his character and his humanity evolve. And that is the tale, the cautionary tale that this movie is trying to tell. And the virus itself is a byproduct of SIOC Woo's company. So even though he is at the cause, he does sacrifice himself in the end to make sure that his daughter gets away. And now we find out there's a sequel to Train to Busan. So by the time that comes out, we're going to be getting more information about the movie, the virus, and just how rapid it can spread throughout the world. Anyway guys, that's my ending explained to Train to Busan. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of the video. Any ideas, anything that you didn't understand, or anything you'd like for us to discuss about the movie, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. So drop those comments. If you like the video, definitely hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe when you guys haven't already, and until next time, binge on.